find the countryside a great place to contemplate and come up with ideas. And I suddenly thought, October, it's dark nights. Why don't I suggest to my wife that we take a little holiday? So when I got back, I put it to her. All I can remember is using the words sun and warm. Sun and warm, I can do that. So I booked a holiday in Fuerteventura, Corralejo. And I thought, what are we going to do? Well, we could do a bit of this. We could even do a little bit of this, which is always possible with me. Might even do some of this. And it is possible that we could have a go at some of this. Now, my wife is of the suspicious nature, and she said, why Fuerteventura? I said, well, it's sunny, warm, you know. And she looked at me suspiciously and said, there's not some deserts anywhere near our hotel, is there? I don't know, it's a warm country, you never know. So we went, and what I didn't mention to her was I did actually have a couple of things I wanted to prioritise over the other things you just saw. And I needed 2 half days to do it. Now, what I need to do is to be able to split my time evenly. And the only way I could do that was by getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Would you like to see what happened? Come on, join me on the trip to Fuerteventura. Well, there we are, off again. Just out here to do a couple of things. And when I say out here, we're talking Fuerteventura. Except I'm taking a little stroll out into a little bit of a desert area to do a review. And as you can see, it's a bit black. So we're going to try and make our way. The idea is to navigate about 800 metres west. Let's get that right. We don't want to be going the wrong way. If I go east, I'll end up in the sea. And then take a turn 90 degrees to the north. And that will hopefully take me back to Corralejo. You can maybe hear a little bit of traffic going by. It's the coast road is this that goes through the famous sand dunes at the north of the island here. And one of the items that I will be looking at closely today, here comes another car, very inconsiderate, early morning workers. Going to be taking a look at some boots that I've got. Anyway, we'll discuss them later and I'll let you know in detail what we're actually going to do. But first I've got to set off and start navigating through this sandy terrain. Well, before we set off, due to the fact I can't see where I'm going, I haven't got the sun to help me, I'm just going to take a bearing on my compass here, and we've got that set for north. It's 4 degrees different from magnetic north here, so I'm just going to add 4 degrees, and that should give us, I'll keep that needle in there, and head that way. Well, what could possibly go wrong? Let's go and give it a go. as you can see, it's getting daylight now, so I'll explain a little bit more about what I'm doing out here. The main reason is I've got a new YouTube channel and it's called Clarky's Reviews, and there's only 3 things on it. There's going to be 4 when I finish this one, but I did it again for a bit of fun, but it seems to have got a lot of interest. And obviously, unlike Clarky's Adventures, which you can look for that, most people who look at the reviews are looking for that specific product. And if you think nobody looks, I was shocked. I put a suitcase on there and I thought, maybe if I get 40 or 50 people showing interest. So far we're up to 2,700 views, so it seemed worthwhile to do my latest edition. When I've gone into the desert, which I don't do very often, I've had a big problem with sand getting in the boots and causing rubbing and blisters. So I've been out and got myself some new ones, and you know me, not cheap, can't afford them, but bought them anyway. It's some Altberg desert boots. Altberg being a company in Richmond, North Yorkshire, and I won't bore you with anything about them because it's all very clear on their website what they sell and how they make it and everything, and how to take care of it. But anyway, I'm doing a review on these boots, and to test them in the right conditions I needed a desert. Now I'm going to be doing some desert stuff in January, February, but I wanted to check the boots out before I did that. So I'm in Fuerteventura, up near Corralejo, where there's the large dune field, and it's a great opportunity to give them a go. So that's what we're about. But while I was here, I thought I'd get out here in the dark and practice some nighttime navigation. Now if you'd have asked me where I was, I would say I haven't got a clue, but when I say I haven't got a clue, I'm talking I haven't got a clue down to the nearest 50 metres. That's because I just got a taxi driver and I said, drive that way and stop when I tell you. So he stopped. Now I've got the GPS, so you'd think I'd know where I am, but the GPS has no mapping for this area on, so all it is just a blank page. But what I'm using the GPS for is I wanted to try the night navigation with the pacing. So normally when I walk on flat terrain, 70 double paces, 1, 2, that's about 100 metres. Now obviously you've got to allow for terrain going up and downhill. In this case, when I set off, I allowed 80 double paces because I was taking shorter footsteps to try and ensure I didn't trip over something or fall down in the dark. And I said I was going to go 800 metres. Well, the sort of terrain I was looking for, it appeared off to the north, and I turned at 500 metres. And what I've been using the GPS for is to check in how accurate my pacing is in the different conditions. And it's more or less right within 10 metres, which 10 metres is a bloody long way if you walk for 5 hours, but we've basically kept a straight line. I can see behind this camera, I can see a straight line of footprints as far as the eye can see. So a little bit of a navigation exercise, that's what I'm conducting, along with the review. So we're going to crack on a bit further, and what I'm looking at for where to go next is little pieces of shrub that are on the line that I'm lining up with my compass. But it turns out that the next thing, after I've just come over the brow of this hill, is an electricity pylon, which looks to be about half a kilometre away. So that's going to make it easy. All I've got to do is just keep walking towards that. I don't have to bother with this till I arrive at it. So let's go and see if we can get to that pylon without any misadventure. Another thing that I'm doing while I'm out here is, because of my reasonably recent interest in tracking. When I say tracking, it's not following animals, it's looking for tracks and trying to interpret them. And I've found some insect tracks here, and there's also some bird footprints, which I'll have a look at in a minute. And do I know what it is? I haven't got a clue. Of course I don't. But when I get back to civilization, I'm going to try and see if I can identify what it is. First thing to do is to make sure you know what species are around in the area that you're visiting, and that'll help you narrow it down. But anyway, we'll take a look at this and see what we can find out. I said earlier that I didn't know what those tracks were, but since then I've been putting the little grey brain cells to work. Not something I do very often. And I'm pretty sure from memory that they're beetle tracks. I'll have to confirm it. You should see like a caterpillar track with like 3 feet one side and 3 feet the other, and they form that pattern that we were looking at. Anyway, got to check that. But found some more here. There's been somebody walk through here in the last day or two and see the remnants of the footprints. But there's some tracks here that look like they must have been made this morning, and it's just 2 little imprints. And I honestly don't know what these are. I don't think brain cells are going to give me the answer. So a little bit of research when I get home. Come on, we'll have a closer look. And as you can see, they're just literally 2 print tracks, but there's also a small indentation at the back here. So another small one there. So 2 main ones, 1 little small one. Any ideas? Not much help to me, are you? And having a walk round in the same area, we have a look down here. Some more tracks for me to try and interpret. Now they have been made by a bird, and it's a standard bird footprint, and I'm just wondering if said bird has been chasing after the beetles. Got some other tracks coming down here. They look a little bit like they're reasonably fresh. Maybe could be yesterday because the edges have worn off them. I need to become a wildlife expert. I thought I was just wandering around testing some boots, and now I've got a whole menagerie here. It's like walking around in a living zoo. Except there's no notice boards to tell me what each thing is. I need to get some education. Right, I'm going to tell you something else now. Now if you think I'm working a sweat up, you'd be right. You may have noticed, if you've been looking carefully, that some of the clips I've done, there's a lot of footprints in the background, and that's because my primary reason to have been here is not to make a Clarky's adventure video, it's to review the boots. Now when I do reviewing, I take it seriously. So when I see a bit of a soft sand dune like this, I don't simply walk over it. What I've been doing is like a drunken man, which I know a lot about, going round in circles. Let me demonstrate. Testing the boots. So we're going up, and then we're testing laterally like this, and then we're testing that way. I know, it's sad, isn't it? Quite good fun if you've still got a little bit of child in you. Yeah, so if I'm looking a bit knackered, that's why. Thought I'd just stop for a little break and have another look at a little navigation technique that I've touched on before. If you know where the prevailing winds are coming from, and you've got to bear in mind that in some seasons they may be coming from one direction and in other seasons they may be coming from another, so don't assume they're coming from the same direction all the time. But if you know where they're coming from, and I know that the prevailing winds come from the northeast here, you can use this pattern on the ground to guide you as to a rough direction for where you want to go. And you see how the sand dunes are formed with a gentle slope and then dropping off quite steeply. Well, these are mini versions. It's very, very gentle up here, and then a sudden drop off there, and a very gentle rise there, sudden drop off, which tells me that the wind's coming from more or less this direction. Now obviously it's going to be affected by things. So we've got some vegetation here, and the vegetation has allowed the sand to go around it and build up on the other side, and you can see the way the curve of the sand dune has been changed by that. So if you're looking down at this and I looked at that, that would be pointing slightly the wrong way. So I need a bit of open ground where there's no vegetation affecting the line that it's showing me. And as you can see, predominantly the lines are more or less straight, with the odd wave when they hit a little piece of vegetation. Let's zoom in a bit, see if we can see that a little bit better. There we go. So if that's coming from the northeast, as long as I keep square on to these, that should be south-southwest. It's never going to be deadly accurate because, like I said, things tend to move with the seasons, but it gives you a rough direction. I know what you're thinking. What a sad individual. His wife's probably sat round the pool having a morning cocktail and a croissant while he's crawling around on his hands and knees in the desert looking for insects. I know, some of us are like that, bit weird. What I'm doing now is I'm walking back to where I left my hat. Yes, that is definitely my hat. Hat on, plod on. Well, I've made it to the tower. That's another ½ kilometre done. What you can see behind me in the distance is one of the Riu, spelled R-I-U, hotels, which means I'm within reach of civilization. But I can tell you from experience that it would do me no good if I needed help going over there to ask them, because they put their hotels often as not in the middle of nowhere, and they're all inclusive, and the quality's pretty good. And I know because when I did my desert survival video, that's where I was staying, in a Rio hotel. And if you were to approach it from any direction with a pair of swimming trunks on and your beach bag and your towel under your arm, the security guard would give you a nod and say, "Very nice to meet you, nice customer. In you go, enjoy your day in the pool." Every time I came back on foot, plodding out of terrain like this, I got stopped every time. I don't know what they thought, you know, backpack. I had my schmog on as well, you know, looked a bit Arabish, Arabic-ish, and I don't know, they just didn't think I belonged there. No, couldn't figure that out. So every time I got stopped and had to produce ID before they'd let me into the perimeter. So if I need help, I'm not going across there, because by the time I've explained to them that I'm not a terrorist or something, it'd be quicker to walk back to the town. So, on that note, let's plod on. But first I need to take a bearing, make sure I'm heading in the direction. Of course, I know I'm going the right way roughly, but I've set myself a little point in the town that I want to come out at, so that once I hit the town I've got the shortest distance to go to get to my hotel. Well, I'm not in a hotel, I'm in a self-catering apartment. You know, it's so that you can save money by making your own breakfast. Yeah, I know, holiday. Yeah, that's alright. Seen a little bit of shrub sticking up about 300 metres in front of me. I'm going to head for that. Of course, I don't necessarily need to take a bearing on the compass because I've got the sun now. And as usual, I've made a note of all the different positions of the sun at different times of day. And it's nearly 9 o'clock, and I know at 9 o'clock it's going to be 100 degrees. If it was 90, my shadow should be directly to my left, and north will be directly in front of me. It's 100, so as long as I go for the next half hour and keep my shadow just slightly in front of me, just by glancing at that, if it goes round to there, then I'm going the wrong way, and if it goes round to that way, I'm going the wrong way. But as long as I keep it more or less there, I know I'm heading north. So back into the scrubland now, and what I've noticed is quite a lot of rabbit activity, and it tends to centre around the bigger bushes. Every now and then you see the sign as well as footprint. Have a look down here and you can see here lots of paw prints, scratchings, drop-ins. And have I seen a rabbit? Nothing. Not a dicky bird. Oh, I lie, I saw one dicky bird. And that's been the extent of my wildlife viewing on this trip out. Okay, let's keep going. So I found a bit of a trail here of tracks. And there's a mixture. There's some of those bird tracks that I saw earlier in there. But you can clearly see a lot of prints. And I think these are rabbit prints. As usual, the disclaimer is I may be wrong. But yeah, I'm going to follow this for a bit and see where it goes to. Part of the trail veers off and comes across here. There's a lot of small little indents there. Holes. I don't know what they are. Let's see if there's anything down there. Oh, hear me screaming a minute. It's because I've been bitten. No, let's move on a bit further. I'm following a great trail now. Let's have a look. You know what this is? Any ideas? I tell you, it's a Clarky, real rare species. They say when you're learning tracking, what you should do is leave a trail and then get used to following your own tracks and knowing what to look for. So I'll give it a go and see if I can follow this all the way back, which has just come into view right over there, somewhere there. Right, well that's it for the little trek in the sand dunes. I could stay here all day. I'd be quite happy just to sit and wait to see some wildlife. Although we did just spot some dicky birds. After I said I'd only seen one, you may have noticed, I don't know whether I picked it up on the video, but several appeared. And why don't I stay out here all day? It's the wife. She's got this thing about, we're going on holiday together so we can spend some time together. Yes, we spend a lot of time together at home. Yes, but apparently when you're on holiday it's different. So, I've got another 1.5 miles to do, and I'm running a little bit late, and I promised her that we'd be having breakfast at 10 o'clock when I got back. So, on pain of death, I'm going to close this camera up, and I may just semi-jog to the main road and then see how far I've made up some time. But yeah, before you start wanting to do this and then start thinking about getting married, just work out how they're both going to fit together. Right, we'll see you next time. Let's pack the camera away, put my hat on before I get sunstroke, and it's a wrap. That's professional film speak.